I think this library is very important for the city of Gaylord because we are not a large town, and yet we have a fantastic facility. What this library is showing to me is that this community values knowledge, it values people working together, it values giving kids a safe place to be. Because without this, where would we come together as a community? The library began as a bookmobile. That's where a big library like Mankato would load books on a truck, and then the bookmobile would come to different towns. You know the bookmobile is going to be in town at certain times, and you walk up into the truck, and then you can pick some books, or you can order books, and then you can bring them back. So it was just a truck with books on it when it first started. Eventually, the city found space in the basement of a building underneath where the furniture store was, and across the street from the old library where we were before. So it was in a basement. So you had to go down into the basement to get to the library. That was awkward. Old basements in old buildings downtown were kind of smelly, and so it was not good for the books. So things happened, and eventually we moved into the old bank. The Citizen State Bank moved. They built a building next door. The city bought that building, and then the library moved into there. We went from being a bookmobile to a building in a basement to the old bank building, and now we're in the old city hall. The library facilities that we had, the usage went up and up and up, and they got too crowded, and we didn't have enough room, and so we had to look for a new library. What was happening was so many people wanted to be in the library, and the library director, Wanda Messner, had so many ideas and so many activities that she wanted to bring the community into the library, that everything was getting more and more and more crowded. The aisles between the books, I would say they were maybe 2 feet wide. Nobody with a wheelchair or a walker could get in between. The research section was the same as the let's have a meeting section, which was the same as where we had English as a second language training. So there was one table, and the reference books were there, and if somebody was having a class, and then we also had kids running around having fun at the library, they were interrupting the class, but there wasn't enough space for all the things that we wanted to do. We were just kind of on top of each other. To create the new library, where we're sitting today, that process took over 10 years. It's not because it physically took that long to build the library, but because as we got more and more crowded in the old location, we started the process of, can we expand? Is there room? Could we add a second story? Could we use the basement? Could we renovate the basement? Could we poke into the building that was next to us? Because the bank is contiguous with law offices that were next door. So we researched, we hired architects and engineers and had people come out and say, can we make the library bigger right where it's sat? We went through that. We researched different sites. We looked at where could we build a new library? How much would it cost to build a new library? So this whole process of finding out the information took a long time. At one point, right across here where you have the crossroads, which is the where Blimpie's is now, and the coffee shop, that land was going to be our land, and we were going to build the library right over there. Brand new building. It was going to be very cool, very cool. And then we had gone through making plans, we had a design, we had an architect. The city decided, nope, it would be better if we gave that land to somebody that was going to bring in taxes, which is what a business does, okay? And so we came up with the idea of let's swap. The library in the old bank building traded places with the city hall. So we swapped. The city hall is where the old library was, and now we took over the whole city hall. so we finally got that approved, and we got about $1.5 million from the state government, free money, if we promised to raise another 1.5 million. And so that's what we did. We were able to get donations from Barnes & Noble. As you look around the library and you see all these shelves, you see the lights, you see the big lights hanging up here, you see this big reading roof over here. There's an amazing amount of stuff that's here. The Barnes & Noble company in Mankato moved from their present location over to the River Hills Mall, and they sent out an email that said, does anybody want any equipment? And Wanda Messner, the current librarian, said, we do. We got on the list. We were one of the first ones in there, and we were able to take as much as we wanted from the Barnes & Noble and bring it here. And my favorite part of this is that we had an amazing number of people donate their time and talents to go get all that stuff. We had the whole Boy Scout troop. We had electricians. We had lots and lots and lots of volunteers go down to Barnes & Noble, take apart things. We had a whole farmers group, a group of farmers from the Northland area, and their job was to take apart this reading roof. And they did that in an amazing way. They came into there, they looked like the Ghostbusters. They came in there with their toolboxes, and they were just great. Then they had to come back. Once this library was ready, they all came back and they put it all together. And they had a plan. They had labeled each part with like slot A goes into part B, you know, that type of thing. They knew how to put this whole thing together. I was just amazed. I think the reason you have a library is to encourage people to learn new things. A library gives a community a place to learn new things together. I think a library is critical for young kids to have available to them, to learn new things, be able to be here together, and see books is important.